Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Game and Compute. Welcome back to the Millennial Recessions experience. On this podcast, we talk about, finance, income. I previously talked about educational routes. Another topic I wanted to touch on, that I had touched on a little bit, was my career path routes. So there are definitely points that are jumbled into the first episode talking about education, but I haven't had too many jobs, honestly, between birth and now. I feel like I haven't had a lot. I've done a lot of volunteering, so basically I would say from about the age range when I was about 14 years old. I think one summer we had a job that was packaging laptops in like a small warehouse. We basically would, put the mouse, the bubble wrap, all that kind of stuff. We'd put everything together. And then we would come get our paychecks, and I think we were getting paid like $14 an hour or something. And my brother and my friend would go like 1 or 2 days a week after work, and the rest of us would just go. I would go on occasion, but I had a friend that went like almost every single day. He would work all the time. And so, I feel like, when we talk about work ethic, he really had a strong work ethic. His parents, they had a lot more kids and stuff, and so they didn't really have the money to be like paying all their kids all this extra money for all this extra stuff. They had to kind of make their own money on the side. And my parents, this friend's parents, a lot of our parents were like still kind of like in school, finishing up degrees and things while we were growing up. So I feel like maybe my fifth and sixth grade year were the last years that my parents were doing any schooling, from what I recall. But yeah, I basically just would volunteer through church related stuff. I want to say I was in 9th grade and 10th grade when I was working in a Sunday sports league, the one that we always went to anyways. Me and my brother did the same jobs. We would basically set up early, like put the benches out, and set up the snack stand, and different like seating around outside on the field and stuff. I feel like we would set that stuff up. We also, so this was probably like, I don't know what time in the morning, but probably before 8 a.m. in the morning, on Sundays, we would set things up like that. We would, collect cans and stuff, just recycling. We were part of the recycling. Like sometimes we would set up specific cans for recycling, but then we would just kind of go around and like recycle. And we had a neighbor that would always give us newspapers, because they were kind of they would hoard newspapers, and so the grandfather would always bring us like, I don't know how many paper, those paper grocery bags, like, so multiple paper grocery bags worth of his wife's newspapers, because they just had stacks and stacks of newspapers in the house that they never ever got rid of unless he would give them to us to recycle. And so we would recycle them, and we'd recycle the cans. Like, my mom would take me and my brother to recycle the cans, and I feel like each time we got about $20 to $30 each for each of us, I think. That's what I remember. I'm not sure. For allowances, I think we used to get maybe, like, at one point when we were younger, like $20 a month. I think at another point we used to get like $100 a month when we got a little older. And I think there was one year where our parents gave us like $1,000 at one point in the year, and that money was to last us the entire year. I think I ran out of money that year. But I wasn't really saving. That was money that I would just blow. I would just take it and just blow it. So those were like early jobs, like 9th grade, 10th grade kind of jobs. So I was probably about like 15, 14, around that age. And then I think one of my first jobs, well, I used to work for this lady from the church. We would do like a summer job. It was just like an occasional one-time thing or something. During our breaks, me and a friend would do like 8-hour shifts, like cleaning her house and stuff. Like, it would be anything from like interior, like scrubbing the floors, sweeping, organizing like the kitchen. Like, we would do a lot of work. She was a teacher, so she had like a shed in the back just filled with like teaching supplies and toys and all this kind of stuff. So we would have to organize all that kind of stuff. We did a lot, but I think that job I made like $42 a day or something, and she would provide us lunch. We would always have Del Taco, 2 chicken soft tacos, and small fries, and I guess it was like maybe like a small Sprite or something. I don't remember what year it was, but it was the year that Eminem album came out that had that White America song on it, because I remember talking to her neighbor, and he was playing a CD of that. So it was whenever that album came out. But I feel like I was a teenager, and then one of my early jobs was, I think that was the first job I actually got hired on. Like I mentioned, for mission trips, we used to do like Sundays, car washes, breakfast burritos. Sundays used to be packed for me. So we'd do all that. Car washes, breakfast burritos. And otherwise I would study a lot too. I don't think we got paid for grades. And then I think I don't think my parents ever like pushed us to like work. Like, not that doesn't sound right. Like, they never were like, you need to get a job now. But I think, we kind of just saw around us, okay, like, everyone's doing this now, everyone's doing that now. I saw more friends during like my late high school, early college years. I saw more friends kind of working more. Some of them would work more and study way less. In our family, we prioritized the studying, but we did kind of have jobs and stuff too. I remember having a job working at the school in college. I worked at the place where I went to elementary school, and I worked, I don't know when, it was probably like 3:30 p.m. to like 6 p.m. Certain weekdays, and then at a certain point, I think my second year in, they had me teaching a computer class, so I would work like 10 to noon weekdays, And then I would work, because I think I had graduated. So during that summer, I would do that. And then, yeah, like, I just remember they didn't pay us, like, on time when we first started. Like, we had to go at least a month, if not more, without pay. And then, once I feel like I was in my bachelor's program when I had this job, as well as in part of my community college program. I feel like I was during those years, that's when I was working at this school. And then I had a lot of kind of strange jobs after I graduated college. And I forgot to mention during high school, the end of high school, I was volunteering. Not only the mission trips, we did that once a year, but we would volunteer at the hospital. So 9th grade, 10th grade, I think every day but Friday, we'd have to dress, instead of for PE, we would go to the hospital. It was a few blocks away, and we would just volunteer there. It was mostly older people or people in high school, and we would volunteer at the hospital. And then I remember having a little trouble with that. There were some days I just was too exhausted to really like show up. And I remember one day kind of coming in, and they were saying that like my file was terminated or something because I hadn't like been in. Like, I didn't really know how to like talk to people about it or what. Like, I think it was fine because I got my volunteer credits, but I think I didn't like talk to anybody specific, or if I did, I don't remember what happened. I can't remember if I got reinstated or what. I don't remember anything at all, honestly. And I remember we were still doing PE, but we had to kind of log our own like PE time, like on our own spare time. We had to do whatever we were doing for, I guess, our 9th grade PE credit. We had to log it from home. Like, we did our own PE. And so I can't remember what I did, but I think I counted the sports that I played on Sundays. And then, because when it was soccer, I think I played women's league and seniors league. And then I think I also did basketball, I wasn't doing baseball in high school anymore. I think I stopped doing that in like 8th grade or something. But I think I played basketball all the way through 10th grade or something. And I played soccer all the way till my first year of grad school. I think my first year of grad school was the year when I got injured and I quit because I was like, I can't do this. I can't be like injured. Like, it hit me. I was like, if this was a real injury, I'd have to miss out on like studying in school. And like, I remember having a soccer game and having a study group that day when I quit because I had like severely like hyperextended my knee. This was like my first year of grad school. But yeah, like so let me see. Yeah, after school, other than I started getting into a little bit of side gigs. So the university tutoring that I did, and I had some research, paid research assistant jobs when I was at UCI, when I was at I guess there were like volunteer research assistant jobs that I had before that. But I had multiple like short-term paid research positions during my college experience, and I think they paid maybe $15 an hour, but it wasn't full-time. It was like couple hours here and there. And so for me, because I was working so sporadically, because I was mostly studying, I don't recall my income being affected by the recession initially. I think it more so affected my ability to get work out of my master's program, and then it also affected me now because of inflation and my current financial goals. One that's coming up this coming year, one that's coming up in 5 years, one that's coming up in 10 years. I've got these goals that I want to stay strict with them and meet all of them, but I think I'll definitely meet them. I just need to be able to do things the way I'm doing them. So side hustles I had along the side while I was done with the third year of my PhD program that I wasn't able to finish that year, or I guess maybe shortly after. It was maybe like a year or two in when I was working, but I remember we were in a different building at this point. I started doing side hustles that weren't related to tutoring or anything like that. I was basically just making income on the side by promoting my own skills. So it was basically just between laptop motherboard repairs, a little bit of drop shipping, and iPhone resell, a little bit of repairs and reselling, just to keep it basic. That's kind of what I would do at different times. And I would fix and resell little violins and instruments like that, flutes and things. I would buy them really cheap and then restore them. Now, for the instruments and things, I don't think I was really tracking my progress as far as what was going in, what was going out. But I did keep it up for quite a few years. And I remember I did open an LLC at a certain point too, for all these kind of things. And the drop shipping worked well, but again, I wasn't really tracking it that much. And then when I didn't scale up. I think the best thing that worked was the iPhone reselling. The issue with that is the scam related things. Either people trying to sell you stuff that is stolen or whatever, or people trying to buy something and then get a refund on something that's fully working, or some other kind of version of a scam. When it comes to phones nowadays, there's way more scamming, and it wasn't that way before. So the pandemic basically killed all of my online, anything I was doing, drop shipping, anything I was doing with reselling, because I could no longer get the parts cheap. I could no longer meet people in person. And then that just stopped. So not to count that I was working at the same job for the last 6 years. So like I mentioned before in another episode, right when grad school from the PhD program I couldn't complete, the day that program ended for me before holiday vacation, I basically the next day got hired. And so from that point on, I've been working for the same company, 2 different positions at 2 different sites. And then the first position had only 1 pay rate. This current position that I started in 2020, I'm on my 3rd pay rate already, but it's only $3 more an hour than it was when I first started. But mind you, for this company, they don't even usually give people 25 cents or 50 cents raises even after multiple years. So for them, a dollar raise is, it's like, hey, this is better than other sites were doing before. So that was something we were able to that I was able to notice. But yeah, just the pay rate isn't fast enough. There's not a lot of upward movement at this job site. There are a couple of managerial positions, but there aren't that many. There's like maybe three positions above me, and that's it. And they don't make that much money either. So yeah, that's not very good. You can't really move past that, and it is a set pay rate for all the positions. They're all budgeted for at whatever pay rate you get. And yeah, just pretty much side hustles are pretty much how I, supplement a little bit. Now, I should probably mention, the whole time I've been working, I've been contributing to retirement. I've also been paying off student loans. I had student loans from my master's program and 3 years of the PhD program. So about 6 years worth of student loans where I was making minimal amounts of money here and there, but nothing significant. It was all just pretty much debt for like 6 years, just living off of debt. Like I said, I did have some paid research positions in the undergrad and master's programs. In the PhD program, 2 of the years, 1 year I was getting, I want to say it was like $200 a month, and the next year like $100 a month or something along those lines. It was less than $300 a month, and it was just a few hundred a month as a stipend. And so, and like I said, it wasn't a lot of money. I wasn't budgeting back then. I would just notice I was running low on money. My priorities were paying my rent and making sure my classes were paid for and having enough to pay for groceries that I wanted. And other than that, I wasn't really going out a lot. I wasn't really doing too much extra. So all that money pretty much went to school and living expenses. And I had like a gym membership, and I wouldn't never go out. I went out way more in my grad school programs, but it wasn't all the time. But I guess there was a lot of food eaten out just because I was never home, because I would get places before class, study early, stay just to beat traffic. I would leave early sometimes, and then I'd study before class, go to class, stay later to like beat traffic, and then I'd sometimes leave campus at like 9 or 10:30 p.m. if I didn't have or try to get home by 10:30 p.m. if I didn't have anything else, and I would just want to rest and everything. And yeah, I would wake up early, and usually to beat the traffic, if I had to be somewhere at 8 a.m., I'd leave about 6:20 a.m. That's LA for you. It's like I would leave that early to drive a 30 to 40 mile distance one way. And so if I would leave at like 6:45, it would take me an hour and a half to get somewhere. If I would leave at like 6:20, I would usually get where I needed in a little over an hour. So usually by like 6:30 to 6:45, I'd be like where I needed to be. And that was enough time to like maybe grab a snack, or like, at least enough time to park and like walk where I needed to walk. Cause these are campuses, so there was always a distance. So that's kind of how things went for me as far as work. Up until now, I mean, the first job I had, the one that started right after the PhD program stopped me from being there. The first one, that first job, I basically kept it up until my then director, talked to me about a position that I knew it existed, but the person who was in charge of that company requested, if there's anyone working at the site where I was working at that could be recommended to do that work, someone who's not trying to get licensed, and I just kind of fit the criteria. So she told me about it. She didn't know the pay rate, and she said, if you want to apply, contact this person, which was someone I already knew because I'd worked for them before this person was my boss. That person was my boss before. And so it was basically one person passing me to the next person that I'd already known before, who had hired me initially, right after that PhD program ended for me. And so we were back in each other's paths again. They hired me on, and then that director that had recommended me for that position had ended up becoming my boss. She ended up becoming the director. And so I started in the company like late May of 2020. Right like when the pandemic was like kind of started. Like a couple months in, because at my previous job we had already been like isolated and in our own little offices instead of in a bullpen and everything like that. So like we kind of had we kind of had that, I liked the job, but the money was not good at all. The remote job was way better, paid way better, and I wasn't, wasting money on gas, and or any other expenses really, because I couldn't even go out because nothing was open. So that definitely changed things financially for me, because even though my work changed, income increased, everything else kind of decreased too. And now we're having the opposite problem, where the pay rate is maybe increasing a teeny tiny amount, but the amount, like I said, it was $3 over since 2020, $3 more an hour. $3 and like 4 cents more an hour than it was in 2020. And now that's kind of where it is now. Potentially it might go up again, but previously, that's kind of just how it went, and we basically just had to keep it that way. And now with gas being like close to like $6.50, with food costing way more. Like when people mention McDonald's, you can't really even usually get a combo under $10 at even fast food places anymore. Denny's costs a lot of money now too. There's a lot of places that just kind of cost a fortune. Mostly everything costs a fortune, and even if you need a used car that's new to you but old to the world, you're still paying an arm and a leg compared to what you would have been paying before. Rent is definitely way more. Like I mentioned, I went from paying in that other recession near 2008 a room to rent. I was paying on the high side of about $675 a month, including all the utilities and everything, like $675 a month, which isn't bad. To have that giant room with that was furnished and had like a deck and everything. Yeah, like it was a good room. And then so yeah, that was basically all I really had to. I think that's all as far as like income related things. But I would say that like there was a point where student loans were almost like my income. Not really. I mean, it's debt in reality, but it's like that's what I was living off of for almost like 6 years throughout like 2 different programs. And so that didn't put me like in the best of positions now. But also it hasn't really been like a current problem. The type of work I do, you can get a portion of forgiven loans, and the job will contribute and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of different stuff. You just have to fill out the paperwork for it. But yeah, that's kind of where I am with stuff. As far as like this recession compared to the last, I feel like last recession I noticed it a little bit, but I was in school and then coming out of school. Now it's like I was in school and then coming out of school trying to go into the workforce, and then instead of going deeply into the workforce, I ended up just going back to school because that was kind of what I knew by that point. But now being in the work fields, working all this time for however many years, 6-something years now on this end, I feel like now the income needs to change more to meet my financial goals. That's mostly what it's about for me right now, is like meeting those financial goals, which are goals related to other things too. It's not all just like for retirement and investments and stuff like that, but that's definitely a factor. But little by little, I'm kind of getting things under control. And trying to stick on the right path. That's probably the harder part, because I know where I'm trying to get, and I know what that looks like, and I know what the numbers need to be. But sometimes I just want to go to that concert, and sometimes I just want to go out and like party and go snowboarding, and like that stuff is stuff that I'm not gonna stop doing. I'm not gonna not do those things, but sometimes I don't do them as much as I'd like, for sure. Just because I'm like, the amount that I would spend on like 2 nights of a hotel and the gas. Like when I think about when I go from LA to San Diego and stay like 2 nights on a weekend, that's like $300 for a hotel. That's like if it's like $150 a night or so, that's $300 on the hotel. Just gas to and from is already like 70-ish bucks. And then food, you can't spend less than $10 a day to eat the kind of stuff that I like to eat, unless I'm like cooking it. And so takeout is probably closer to like 30 a day, 20, 30 a day, because I do get the rooms with the microwave and everything. So say for 2 days, that's like $60 for food, like $70 for gas, like $300 for hotel. That's for like 2 days, just to like see my friends for like a weekend. So it's like that adds up significantly. Now, hotels have decreased the prices a little bit since summer vacations are over and traveling season's kind of mostly over until the holidays come up again. And then, so that's over. There's a little bit of stuff over. There's a little bit of stuff that's over. But yeah, when it comes to the financial end of things, you know, the amount of like when it comes to the financial end of things, it's more about the decisions being made. Like I said before, you know, I'm not really in a position where I'm like starving or anything, but I am, you know, feeling it just like everybody else, that we did have a couple years that were a little stagnant there as far as being able to do stuff that you want to do. And now that I've kind of been able to evaluate what I want, it's more like the movement of it all. Now for myself, I'm not going to talk about this too much at this episode, but I am kind of in this constant battle with this. First of all, the fear of failure, because it's happened before. Now with my failure, you know, benefits had come from it as well. I got improvements to my health, definitely a lot of education about myself, a lot of skills to use on the actual job that actually got me hired, and in a job that, you know, I got to get a good reputation and build my retirement and, you know, have an income and pay off some debt, you know, have some fun, meet some great people. But yeah, definitely there's fear attached to putting in all that effort again and having it not work out yet again. Like, that would be a big blow. I'm not even trying to put that into the universe because I don't see that happening. I've never been fired from a job, but I have had to learn, you know, when I'm taking on too much, when I need to communicate with somebody before it's an issue. Those are still things I do struggle with, where it's like, you know, being a little assertive instead of just like letting it like drag me down with stress and fatiguing me, and not being able to kind of take the moves I need to do. And then yeah, that's kind of what I have experienced for sure. But overall it's been okay, you know, like other than the wild roomies I've had here and there, you know, which, you know, it was always an option to leave. So yes, I put up with a lot of BS for a very long time, but I always knew, like, if all else fails, you know, I could always come back to LA. That was never like a problem of like having a place to stay where I couldn't just instantly get there within a couple hours in the same day even. Like, I've always been close enough to LA that, like, if I needed to be in LA, even if it was going to be like the middle of the night or something, I could still like get there, you know. I didn't have to get a plane ticket. As long as I had a car or access to get to the train, I could always get back to one place at least. So that kind of has led me to maybe make some decisions that maybe weren't so good, just because I always knew I could leave. So I think, you know, if I wouldn't have lived in such a stressful house environment, there's a lot of financial decisions I would not have made, such as, especially like the partying. Like, the partying was definitely a coping mechanism for me, just the social and going out and like doing all these things, instead of like, you know, I could have very well stayed in, just gone to the gym, played some guitar, been very happy doing that, artistic and creative stuff. But, instead I wanted to go out, because I was like, I just got a lot of steam I got to blow off. So yeah, overall there was a lot of that, but as far as, income, like I am taking a pay dip right now just because I need the time more than the money, because my money situation is about to change anyways. But the faster I can get the time to continue studying and finish this course I need to finish up, once I finish it up, I can start applying to jobs and hopefully land a position where I'll be making about, at starting minimum, it'll be at least 25% more than what I'm already getting paid, possibly close to 100% more. So minimum 25% more, which is a good pay bump starting. And then these are in sites that, every year they have like a 10% pay increase. And so either way, I'd be making more. And then next year, at the minimum, it would be 35% more than what I'm making now. And so, that wasn't a very hard decision to make, especially because, the course route isn't that complex. It's just learning a new job, basically, but it's learning the job. I'm not, like, learning through a school route with all, like, too much of, like, the years of background of theory and foundation and all that. It's like, no, like, here's how you do the job. That's basically what I'm doing now. And then on the job, there's going to be specific training. But yeah, that's kind of what income has looked like for me during the course of 2 different recessions in my lifetime. I feel like this is a smarter decision for me, just my own personal opinion. I do have options to, go back to grad school, do grad plus loans. Those I don't think they max out. I'd be eligible for student loans again. It would still require applications, the fees, the transcripts, the letters, and then applying and getting in, and then finishing the program, and then getting a pay bump. And that would be in 5 years versus by 2023. So that's why, I'm kind of more in a rush, because like I mentioned, I have financial goals for 2023 that I'm trying to reach. And then for 2028 that I'm trying to reach. And so, wait, did I say 2028? Maybe I meant 2029. No, it's 2028. 2028, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, with that, thank you for listening.